In the first demo of this module, we will start from a blank application and we'll create the menu item, its translation, the component and the route. So it is time to get started on building that application that we looked at in the previous demo. Make sure at this point that you are logged out. If you had the application running, please make sure that you've logged out so that we don't run into any issues there. And another thing that you need to disable at this point is the multi-tenancy. Take a look at the Phonebook demo constants class in the core shared and notice that I have the multi-tenancy enabled set to false. So the first thing that I'm going to do, as mentioned in the slides, is build up that component. And there's a couple of things that we need to do. First, of course, we need to add the ability to see that component. Let's go to Visual Studio Code and we're going to start writing some code here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new menu item that will appear in the menu as you saw before. To add that menu item, I need to go to App, Shared, and then Layout. In there you'll find the folder Nav, and in there you'll find App Navigation Service. What you see here is the code that builds up the app menu. I hope you recognize the dashboard, the administration, which had some submenu items such as roles and users that we looked at earlier in this course. I'm going to add my own app menu item here. And let's add it behind this dashboard menu item. So what have I now just brought in? Well, I have added a new app menu item, which has as name Phonebook. The null means at this point that we don't have any permissions set for this app menu item. So basically everyone will be able to see it at this point. The third parameter is the icon that I use from the built-in set. And the fourth parameter, so /phonebook, is the route. I will have to build the route in just a minute. If you run the application at this point, we'll already see our menu item appearing. Let's give it a shot. So I'm going to run npm start to run the application and then browse to localhost 4200. So we can now log in with the credentials that we have used before. And there we go, our Phonebook menu item is already available. It has the icon as well as the text. But it doesn't do anything at this point, just yet. We'll have to fix that. Alright, let's go back to Visual Studio Code. I have to follow a couple of steps in order to make my menu item work. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to localize the menu item. And for that, I have to go back to Visual Studio because localization is handled on the server side, of course. Here's my server-side application. I'm still running it, so let me stop it here. And I need to go to the core project. In the core project, you'll find this localization folder. In there, we have the Phonebook demo folder, which contains XML files, and those will contain localization strings. Let's first go to the default one. That is this one, the Phonebook demo.xml. This one contains the English, let's say the default translations. As you can see, there's no suffix behind the name of the file. I can now add the translation that I want. So I'll add here text name equals Phonebook and the translation between the open and close tag just in the same way as the other translations are already in this file. I'll put it right over here. It doesn't really matter where you put this. Now if you don't translate my new text, well then this default value will always be used. But I can also add another translation. I'm from Belgium and I speak Dutch, so that is the NL translation. So let's go here. In my case, I'll add the same string here, but I'll put the translation in my native tongue. I suggest you do the same with your own native language. The next thing I'll do is I'll add a route in the Angular code, because we need to know where the application should navigate, which component it should be loading when we click on our new menu item. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code. Now, ASP.NET 0 defines its routes in a number of places. In this case, I'm going to make it simple and I'm going to add the Phonebook page in the main module of the application. That contains a number of routes. Let me show you. So we go to Source, App, then Main, and in there you'll find the main routing module. Currently, there's one route in here that specifies that the dashboard component should be loaded when we navigate to Dashboard. Well, we're going to do pretty much the same with our Phonebook. Let's add another route. There we go. We've added a route that says that we need to load the Phonebook component when we go to Phonebook. At this point, the compilation will fail, as you can see at the bottom of the screen, because Angular is complaining that it cannot find the Phonebook component. So let's do that next. We are going to create the phonebook component. We're going to create our new component under the main folder, and in there I'm going to create my own folder for phonebook. So under main, create a new folder, phonebook, and let's add a new component here. Let's call that the phonebook component. So I'll call my file phonebook.component.ts. Let me paste in some code in this component. And of course, this requires some Angular knowledge, but for the rest, it's nothing really that special. Probably the most striking thing is that my component inherits here from app component base. That's a base class that comes with the ASP.NET Zero framework. It already contains a couple of functionalities, including localization, and we'll use that very soon. You can omit inheriting from this base class, but it's going to make your life a little bit easier. And remember that we had an error in the main routing module. It was complaining that it couldn't find the phonebook component. Well, we've now added it, so let's go back there and let's make sure that the application compiles again. Visual Studio Code's IntelliSense will now suggest that I'm going to import my phonebook component. And there we go, we've added this import statement, but now Angular is complaining that it cannot find the template. And it's absolutely right in saying that. We haven't created that file, so let's do that next. So I'm going to go back here and create a phonebook template. Here you see the code for the template of our new phonebook component. I need to point out a couple of things. Notice the L and then phonebook. Now what is the L all about? Well, the L, the lowercase l, is going to be a function that localizes the string that we pass to it, phonebook. And remember that that was the key that we specified earlier in the XML file. Another thing I need to point out is this router transition attribute that is used to show a little animation when we do transitions between pages. For the rest, it is just plain HTML, and as you can see, there is a placeholder that says that our actual phonebook component is going to be pasted in here. At this point, we've added the component, we've added the route, but we haven't linked our component with a module just yet. So we'll need to do that next. In my case, I'm going to link my component via the main module. In here, I'm going to bring in my phonebook component. Let me import it first. There we go. At this point, it's still grayed out because we're not using it just yet. I need to fix that. I need to go to my declarations, which is going to let my module know about my component. There we go. If we now take a look at the application again, we'll see our component already working. Let's try it out. So I have my phonebook item here. I click on it and there we go. We see our component, we see the template, we've added our first component to our ASP.NET Zero application. How great is that?